In the biting winter of 1932, the Alps were draped in a soft, white silence. In a small village, nestled between pine forests and frozen rivers, time itself seemed to slumber. Here stood the Edelweiss Inn, a humble wooden haven where the innkeeper's daughter, Elena, lived a life as slow and steady as the falling snow. But beneath her calm exterior, she longed for something more, a call from beyond the mountains. Lately, whispers filled the village, talk of a silver fox. A shepherd first saw it, trembling, saying its fur glowed in the moonlight and its eyes weren't like an animal's, but like a man's. Legend said the fox appeared to those carrying a heavy sorrow, leading them to something lost or something they feared to find. Elena listened, but never truly believed, until the night the stranger arrived. A storm hit without warning, smothering the world in white. A knock, faint against the wind, brought a tall, frost-covered figure stumbling into the inn. He collapsed near the hearth, a ghost carved from the storm. Elena rushed to help, warming him with blankets and soup. When he finally stirred, his cold blue eyes met hers. He introduced himself as Captain Adler, his journey to Innsbruck lost to the snow. As Elena settled him in, a flash of silver caught her eye outside. Low to the ground, gliding past like smoke. She blinked, and it was gone. Later that night, she saw it again at the edge of the forest. A shape in the snow, 4 slender legs, a tail like a wisp of moonlight. The silver fox. Its eyes glowed, calm and knowing, before it melted back into the white. The next morning, the world gleamed like crystal. Captain Adler, though warmed by the fire, seemed unsettled, his hands trembling. "You've seen it, haven't you?" Elena asked quietly. "The silver fox." He sighed a weary breath. "Then perhaps it's true what they say. The fox walks again." That afternoon, he led her into the snow-filled forest. "I served in these mountains during the war," he began. "There was a legend among the soldiers, a spirit fox that guided the lost. I thought it was just a story, until the night I saw it myself." He told her of a blizzard that swallowed his patrol and how the fox appeared, leading him to a cave. Inside were the frozen bodies of his comrades and a chest of silver from a fallen empire. "I buried it all," he said, his voice distant. "The treasure, the dead, the past." Just then, a shimmer moved between the trees. The silver fox emerged, its eyes meeting theirs. It turned and began to walk deeper into the forest, and without a word, Elena and Adler followed. It led them to a clearing where an ancient stone shrine stood half buried in snow. The fox sat before it, then vanished like breath in the cold. Adler fell to his knees. "This is where I buried them," he whispered, brushing snow from the stone to reveal a name that made him tremble. "Johann Adler." "That's you," Elena read softly. He closed his eyes. "I thought I could bury the man I was, but the mountains remember what we wish to forget." That night Elena couldn't sleep. The fox had led them to a grave, but for whom? For the dead soldiers, or for the man Adler once was? Looking out the window, she thought she saw a silver glimmer on the slope, beckoning. A whisper seemed to echo in the silence. "The snow remembers what the heart forgets." The next morning, Captain Adler was gone, and on the doorstep, pressed into the fresh snow, was a single, perfect silver hair, gleaming in the sunlight. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the Alps. If you love stories that linger in your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tales from the quiet corners of the world. The days after Captain Adler vanished were eerily quiet, as if the storm had swept away all sound along with him. The inn felt hollow, my own footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Outside, snow fell in soft, glittering sheets, gently erasing the past, one flake at a time. Every morning, I'd stand by the window, staring at the white slope where his trail had disappeared into nothing. The mountains gave no answers, just silence and light. But at night, when the moon rose over the ridge, I saw them. Faint, shimmering tracks winding between the trees, gleaming like silver in the dark. It was as if some unseen creature still walked those paths while the world slept. The villagers had their theories. Some said Captain Adler had gone mad and frozen among the peaks. Others whispered he'd chased that silver fox one last time, hunting his own ghosts. But I couldn't believe he was gone. Something deep inside me, an instinct I couldn't explain, told me his story wasn't over. One evening, a knock came at the door. I half expected to see the captain, but instead, a young man in a navy greatcoat stood there, his hair pale, his eyes sharp as glass. "Inspector Dieter Weiss," he said, "Austrian Border Patrol. I'm told a man named Adler passed through here." I nodded. He was trapped by the storm. Then, he left at dawn. "Did he say where he was going?" Weiss pressed. "No," I said, my hands twisting in my apron. "Only that he once served in these mountains." Weiss's eyes narrowed. "Then you should know. Captain Johann Adler was wanted for questioning. He's accused of stealing imperial silver from a fortress back in 1918. We think he buried it somewhere in these peaks." A chill, colder than any snow, ran down my spine. "He wasn't a thief," I whispered. "He was haunted." Weiss just looked at me, then toward the frosted window. "Haunted men are dangerous, mademoiselle, sometimes more than the living." That night I couldn't stay inside. The moon was high and silver, washing the valley in a quiet, ethereal light. I pulled on my coat and boots and stepped into the crisp, creaking snow. And there they were again, delicate, deliberate tracks leading toward the woods. I had to follow. The forest was still, yet it felt alive. At the edge of the trees, I saw it, the faint shape of the silver fox, half hidden by mist. It paused, looked back at me with luminous eyes, and then slipped between the pines. The fox moved effortlessly, its paws leaving perfect glowing impressions on the snow. It led me deeper, through moonlight and shadow, until we came to a deep ravine. What was left of a wooden bridge crossed it, just 2 rickety planks. The fox was already on the other side, waiting. My heart pounded. I tested the first plank. It held, but as I took the next step, my boot slipped on ice. The plank beneath me gave way, and I grabbed for the rope railing dangling over the abyss. Just then, a flash of silver leaped across the gap. The fox landed beside me, its gaze steady and calm. A strange warmth spread through me, and my panic eased. Carefully, I crossed the last plank. When I reached the other side and looked back, the bridge was gone. There was only untouched snow. The fox led me to a hollow in the hillside, where a stone door was carved with the same crescent and tail symbol I'd seen on the shrine. Beneath the frost, a Latin inscription read, "The mountain keeps its memory." The door sighed open. Inside, a tunnel widened into a cavern, lit by a strange, sourceless light, and there, at its center, stood Captain Adler. "I knew you'd come," he said softly. His face was pale, but his eyes were finally at peace. "The fox brought you. It means the mountain has accepted you." He gestured to the walls where soldiers were preserved in the ice, their faces serene. At their feet lay an iron-bound chest. "The treasure," I whispered. "Silver for an empire that no longer exists," he said. "I took 1 bar to survive after the war, but the fox reminded me that some debts can't be paid in gold." He smiled faintly. "Perhaps you can finish what I could not. Return what was never ours." The silver fox walked to the chest and brushed its tail across the lid. The metal shimmered and crumbled to dust. The silver inside melted into light, filling the cavern with a glow like dawn. When I blinked, the chest, the fox, and Captain Adler were all gone. When I stepped back outside, the path to the village was clear and calm. The villagers never believed my story, but when I opened my hand, a single silver coin lay in my palm, stamped with the crescent and tail. It never tarnishes. and sometimes when the moon is full, I hear the soft patter of paws outside my window, a sound that always brings me peace. The silver fox of the Alps is still watching, a guardian keeping its silent vigil under the moon. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the quiet corners of the world. Winter in the Alps holds a stillness that feels almost holy. In the quiet valley, I kept the Edelweiss Inn running, serving tea and waiting for a spring that never quite seemed to arrive. The villagers had forgotten the tales of Captain Adler and the Silver Fox, dismissing them as fireside ghost stories. But for me, the mountain had changed forever. Some nights I'd see a shimmer of silver beyond the tree line, quick as breath, and my heart would stop, wondering. Weeks passed, then the thaw began, and with it a stranger arrived. He was a historian from Salzburg, Herr Lucas Dreyer. He carried himself with a city precision that didn't belong here. "I'm looking for information," he said, his Viennese accent soft, "about a certain Captain Johann Adler." I froze. He was the second man to come chasing ghosts. "I study legends of the war," he explained. "Whispers of a fox that guards the dead." He spoke of archives and folklore, how Adler's name appeared in both, half soldier, half myth. "Some say he made a pact," Dreyer whispered, "that the silver he took was cursed." When he asked if I'd ever seen the creature, I lied. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I saw his lantern weaving through the trees, heading for the northern ridge. I had to follow. The moon painted the world in silver blue. He walked as if led by something unseen, straight toward the hidden ravine and the stone door. My heart pounded. I'd walked that path once, guided by the fox. He crossed the rebuilt bridge and stood before the door, tracing the carvings. Then the air shifted. The forest hushed. From between the trees, the silver fox stepped into the clearing, its fur gleaming like liquid light. "So it's true," Dreyer whispered, "the guardian." But then he reached into his coat and drew a small, shining revolver. "I've come for what's mine," he hissed. He raised the gun. The fox stopped. A shot cracked through the night, but the fox leaped aside, impossibly fast. Before Dreyer could fire again, the snow beneath him collapsed, and he fell into the darkness below. I scrambled down to him. He was dazed, his leg injured. "The mountain doesn't want what you came for," I told him. Just then, the fox appeared at the rim above, then descended, leaving no prints. It was more light than flesh. It looked at Dreyer, not with menace, but as if reading his very soul. Then it turned to me. I felt a message, not in words, but in my heart. "This man does not belong to the past," I whispered. Suddenly, the snow around us melted into mist. Shapes formed, soldiers in uniform, their faces weary but kind. Captain Adler stood among them. He placed a hand on Dreyer's shoulder. "The war is over," Adler said softly. "Let the dead rest." The vision faded, leaving only a weeping Dreyer and a single, perfect fox print in the snow. Years drifted by. I grew older. Travelers brought stories of a world changing. But here, little did. On moonlit nights, I'd step outside and see it. The silver fox, watching from the tree line. I'd smile and feel a sense of peace wash over me. They say that even now, when the snow glows under a full moon, it's the mountain remembering its stories. And if you listen to the wind in the pines, you might just hear it whisper, "The heart forgets, but the snow remembers." Thank you for listening to our story. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more tales from the quiet corners of the world.